Hi guys, we just got back from a really special trip to Alaska celebrating my parents' 30th anniversary and our 3rd anniversary, and I wanted to make a video about it. This video is kind of long, so if you watch it, just know that this is just kind of a summary of our whole trip. And, if you're considering going to Alaska, let me know if you have any questions. Would love to give you advice based off of our own. Enjoy! Okay, Eric, tell him what time it is.
It's cruise time.
I was gonna say it's 4:30 in the morning and we're exhausted, but we're excited because Eric's right. It's cruise day. Cruise day. Cruise day. So as you can probably tell from that last clip, we were absolutely exhausted headed there. Our flight left at about 8:30 in the morning, which meant we had to get to the airport by like 6:30, and then we were off. This is showing you our very first look at Seattle, which is where we flew into. You can see our cruise ship right there. We were still in the bus at this time until we were allowed onto the ship, which you're getting your first glance at here. We ran for water and food, basically. And then we went for our rooms, which were absolutely gorgeous. This is what the balcony looked like. We got really lucky with our placement of the balconies. It was a great view the entire trip. Then we went to the theater just to kind of get settled in and watch a magic show. So that was a lot of fun. Then, of course, more food because it's not a cruise without food. You can see here we were eating at Cagney's, which is one of the specialty restaurants. So it was just absolutely delicious. We figured we would start off our first trip with a bang, and then we got into day 2, which was a sea day. Now, you're going to notice a lot of food throughout this. Obviously, that is a huge part of the cruise, and we really took advantage. We really loved breakfast in the buffet area, especially. You'll also see that we played a lot of cards. We just started jogging, or Eric was jogging. I jogged inside, but here we go.
It's good.
Not great to see right now with the haze, but it feels excellent to run, and you can see how crazy the wind is pumping in our faces. So you can only imagine it's a little bit chilly here. Yeah. Of course, after that lovely run, it was time for more food. You can see my scallops and my mom's soup, and then some delicious chicken and spring rolls and all sorts of things. If you have not been on an NCL cruise, they are pretty known for their food, and this was a wild competition. It was Mr. Sexy Legs, so I'll cut that short so you're not as scarred for life as we are. Between the food and the events, we also just, kept trying to make it fun. You saw in that last clip Starbucks, and then here we are watching Music Mania and playing some more cards. So it was just a lot of hanging out, having an absolutely wonderful time, and then of course more food. This one was in the main dining hall. Again, if you have not visited NCL, they have a lot of different dining halls, so this one is another complimentary one that still had incredible food, so totally recommend. This is, I don't know if you've seen the trend of people trying to skip. We were trying to see if my parents remembered how to skip, and then I, of course, wanted to show that I knew how to skip again, too. So we were having all sorts of fun everywhere, just sort of enjoying our time. Leading into day 3, we finally arrived at our first port, and even though it's cloudy, the weather started to get gorgeous. So you can see all of the different clouds surrounding everything, but we were so excited because we could finally see the outside. More food here, but we were getting full so that we could have a really great day at port in Juneau. So here's our first time off the ship since getting onto it. We really were so impressed immediately. I mean, everything about Alaska is stunning, and we happened to get really lucky. You can see there a glacier. It was our first look at one, so we really enjoyed seeing that. It was the Mendenhall Glacier, and then they had all of these crazy things everywhere. Like, this was a real bear pelt. It was incredibly soft and thick, by the way. And then, of course, I had a fun squirrel moment. I figured I'd just kind of show you guys because he was adorable. Once we finished with the Mendenhall Glacier, we also went whale watching, and we got so lucky. We got to see so many beautiful whales, and we also got to see some other wildlife as well. There are a lot of bald eagles in Alaska, which I really wasn't expecting, and which is really cool to see. Plus, just there's nothing quite like seeing a whale. I mean, they're truly huge and they're absolutely gorgeous. And we also got so lucky to see these seals fighting for control of this buoy. It was so fun. There's one of those bald eagles I was talking about. Then it was back to the ship where we of course needed our coffee and we went to go see another show. We were really just trying to stay outside as much as possible as well because the weather was so nice and we really wanted to enjoy every second, but we couldn't let food go to waste, of course, so we made sure to get some more food, and that was really delicious. One of the things we were impressed with most was all of the seafood throughout the ship. It was ceaselessly delicious. I mean, I don't think we had one bad piece of seafood the entire time, so that was really exciting. Just here's more food. You can tell that was like half of what we did throughout the trip. This was like a summer salad type thing. We had some Asian spare ribs as well. My advice to you is if you don't like eating, don't go on a cruise because you spend a lot of time eating. I think I came back and weighed like 4 or 5 more pounds than when I left, but when you're not eating, at least in Alaska, make sure you are outside and looking at all of the beauty because it was definitely one of the prettiest places I have ever visited in my entire life. That brings us to day 4 in Skagway. Now, of course, we started with breakfast. Instead of just going to the buffet this time, we did go to one of the main dining halls before getting off of the ship. I just wanted to show you how big the ship was. I mean, it's absolutely humongous. It's it's literally next to mountains and it's so large. So first what we did was we took this long bus ride, and this was the day with my favorite tour guide as well, and also probably the best weather. He was so awesome and took us to so many different stops, including this random desert in the middle of Alaska. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't have expected a desert. Another place that we went was this really cool like stuffed animal area where they showed different kinds and then had real animals as well. You can see they had sledding dogs and horses and chickens and llamas, which I got to feed, which was really, really fun. So we just sort of hung out here for a while and got to meet all of the animals, which was so exciting and a different, just like a different activity compared to some of the other things we've done. And then we went into this little town where it was very interesting to see, like they had one smoothie shop and then one post office, and that was like it. So just a really different world out there. Everything's a lot more spread out. And then it was time for the thing that scared me most during the trip. I'm so glad we did it, but it was the railway tour in Skagway. And what you can't really see in these videos is that you are truly unable to see any land beside you. It looks like it's dropping straight down. Now, I was glued to my seat the entire time. Eric, meanwhile, was out on the platform basically the whole trip. And when I say out on the platform, I was terrified sitting in the train car, but Eric was outside looking at everything. And here is a bear that we saw, and then back on the ship. So I know I'm racing through all these things, but I do just want to give you guys a summary. Another show that we went to, and then we went to Teppanyaki Steakhouse, which is like a hibachi style thing. I'd really recommend it if you haven't gone before. Day 5, Glacier Bay. This is the other most stunning day of the entire cruise. Now, Glacier Bay is not somewhere where you get off the ship. It's a national park. So the ship was allowed in it, and while we were there, we got to see so many glaciers and just beautiful water. I mean, it was absolutely incredible. I'm so glad we got to see that. And just look at the haze here. I feel like everyone talks about how bad the weather in Alaska was, and this was some of the worst weather of our trip, but to say that and it still look as beautiful and dramatic as it did, I mean, I am absolutely not a professional videographer, and I was able to get shots like this, right? Everywhere you looked, it was stunning. It was beautiful. We got incredibly lucky. The other thing that made it really fun was that there were sea otters almost everywhere. I mean, I think we saw 30 or 40. eventually we went back inside and we're just kind of hanging out and having a great time. So that was really wonderful. I forgot to mention, we did so much Sudoku while we were on the trip. Obviously, Alaska is a lot of just sort of hanging out and admiring nature. So me being an activities girl, we made sure to also get little activities like Sudoku while we were enjoying nature. So if you're someone who likes to stay busy, that's something that I recommend when you go on the cruise. They usually have them in the library. And of course, eating is another activity unto itself, so make sure you do that well and often. We really enjoyed every single place that we ate on the ship. I don't think we had one truly bad meal. It really was all very impressive and delicious. And I talked to several people on the cruise who said that they had been on other cruise lines and the NCL is one of the best. So day 6 was Ketchikan, and I forgot to tell you this, but we did not take a single elevator the entire time. We only did stairs. So we were so sore and tired every day, but it was totally worth it if you're looking for a way to just sort of stay active while eating tons of food and sitting and hanging out all day. That's something I really recommend. We got off the ship at Ketchikan, and this was one of the cooler days, I feel like. Definitely a great place to buy souvenirs as well. So if you have not bought souvenirs and you're going on a similar trip, this was a great place to go. It was very inexpensive. I think we spent $20 on a hoodie that was really nice quality, and compared to some of the other stops, that made a really big difference. Now, our excursion for Ketchikan started with an all-you-can-eat crab feast, and this was at 8 or 9 in the morning. I can't remember exactly what time, so it was a little wild, but man, if you have the opportunity to go to this crab feast in Ketchikan, do it. They give you so much crab, and it was so incredibly fresh and delicious. So if you're a crab lover, definitely don't miss out. It was so delicious. I didn't even realize that I loved crab until we did this. So definitely give it a shot. And we had a chance to sort of admire this little town that we found ourselves in as well. It's the main part of Ketchikan, and it's a harbor town. So lots of boats, lots of cute shops and restaurants. We got coffee while we were in town waiting for the lumberjack show. This is us getting coffee. Now, it's definitely touristy. That's their main attraction and source of income in the town, so definitely do expect it to feel a little touristy, but we had a lot of fun. This is us waiting for the lumberjack show, which I'd give sort of an 8 out of 10. It was a lot of fun and very goofy. If you've ever seen like medieval times, it was a lot like that. Now here we are back watching the show itself. This is what I mean. They were doing things like competing to climb up this really tall pole and chopping things and all sorts like that. And then we were back on the ship, just watching more funny activities. If you're an activities person, definitely pay attention to your freestyle guide, and you'll see all sorts of goofy events. Like this was like a men versus women kind of show, where they all had to do the same activities. We also had an arcade on this ship, so Eric wanted to try his favorite game, Halo, and so we did that. We also watched another magic show just because why not? It was a lot of fun. There was another game show that we went to. We just liked to stay busy, so you can just kind of see us admiring all of the different funny moments and just kind of hanging out together, and it was just really great to spend it as a family. So I'm so glad that we got to have so much relaxation and fun. It was such a great break from normal life, and it was a wonderful way to celebrate my parents' anniversary, which is what they are doing here. They came, they sang a song, and they even had my dad chime in, so that was a lot of fun too. It was honestly just such a special way to celebrate this trip.
So day 7 was when we finally made it to Canada, and of course we were playing more cards, trying to relish every single last moment of ship time since we knew it was running out quickly. Having lots of fun in the observation lounge, especially watching more game shows. You know the drill by this point, and all the things we love to do. We also had the chance to see this really cool play where people could go up on stage and and interact with the cast members. To be honest, we actually saw this a couple of days earlier, but my video got a little bit messed up in editing, so you get to see it here, and you also get to receive my full commendation. It was like watching Glee, kind of, because they were singing modern renditions of like songs that are very popular as a choir. It was just very, very cool. And they even had a working bar on set. So they brought audience members up to participate. So that was super cool. Of course, we were continuing to watch the ocean. And this was actually the day when we got really lucky and saw a pod of 7 or so whales. So that was really cool. When it was time to get off the ship, it was actually just me and Eric for this one. We left my parents behind and we went on this food tour of the island. It was really, really cool. We took this short little ferry boat ride. While we were on the ferry boat, we ended up eating this like summer salad that a local restaurant made, and it was just a really cool start. We had a group of only 6 people led by our tour guide, so that was a really special, unique trip where we really got to know the tour guide and the other people on our trip. It was actually supposed to be like by car or by bus, but because it was Canada Day, when we randomly happened to be there, we walked the whole time, so it was really, really lovely. Of course, they had this dip at this cool local bar that we tried called Baba Ganoush. It was delicious. And then we also had like an espresso type shot, kind of like cafe liqueur, if you've ever had that. It was delicious. And then we continued our walking tour. We went to the Chinatown area of Canada. That was what she referred to it as. And she said, she gave us like so much local history. It was really, really cool to hear like how long this area has been settled. And she actually gave us kind of the sad history as well, which I honestly really appreciated. This alley that we were walking through was previously used as like an opium den type area. So we literally went down this random alley of the road that isn't large enough for like cop cars to go down, was the whole point. So that was really wild. Now the house is there. I think she said they were selling for like $100,000 a square foot. So definitely a very different atmosphere now. Also, sorry for the vertical video. Eric was getting some great shots, so I wanted to include it, but I know it's a little different than the rest of it. We were just having such a nice time that kind of everything went out the window. So honestly, this was probably my favorite excursion that we did. You can tell it's busy, but we really got into areas that actual locals were, especially because it was Canada Day. Everybody was out and about having a great time. There was live music at a lot of the different places that we went to, which was really cool. So we really just got a feel for what the actual local scene felt like, a little bit more than some of our more touristy excursions. And again, the fact that it was Canada Day really added to that as well. It felt like we were in the US on the 4th of July or something like that, where just the energy buildup was so cool and everyone was so excited. We actually worked our way to this one area where they were having like a live performance. You can see there's someone on stage right there. So there was music as well, which was just really, really cool while we waited for the fireworks. Eventually those did start and they were beautiful. They did a really good job with the show, and luckily we were far enough away that we got to enjoy the beauty without too much crazy noise. So we just couldn't believe our luck that we happened to be there on such a cool day. I really just feel so fortunate that we got to celebrate such a cool in such a cool way, and that we just happened to randomly be there. So that, if I had to choose a favorite day, might actually be my favorite excursion of the whole trip, even though every single day was special in its own way. You can probably just see by the huge smile on my face in the darkness and by Eric that this was just a really wonderful way to end the cruise. Finally, we knew we had to get off. We were back in Seattle. We waved goodbye to our room, but the fun wasn't quite over yet. Luckily, we had booked a trip around Seattle, so we did an excursion to the Space Needle and then a few other places as well. So, as you can probably tell by my description of the railway a couple of stops ago, I'm not a huge one for heights, so this is definitely out of my comfort zone. But if you go to Seattle, you know you have to see the Space Needle, so this is us going up all the way. I got unlucky / lucky enough to truly get a window seat on the glass elevator, so I felt like I was going to die, but I got this great footage to prove that I didn't. Here is Eric trying to get a cool photo against the slanted walls. It really does... You can't tell from the video, but the walls and the glass floor are so wild. I tried to walk on them and it gave me like fits. Like I had so much trouble being brave enough to step on this glass, which seems wild because obviously no one falls down this glass or they wouldn't let anyone there, but it really freaked me out. It was still so beautiful though. I'm so glad we got to go see it, and I was also glad to come down and start seeing some other parts of Seattle as well. This is us just sort of walking around waiting for our bus driver and tour guide Spencer, who then took us to the Public Market Center Pike's Place, which is, I think, the oldest farmers market in the US. It was really, really wild. They had everything. I mean, if we had had more time and we were going to be in Seattle for a bit, the price of flowers and all sorts of things were really, really cool. We went to Beecher's and we got their like famous mac and cheese as well as a sandwich, and then we kept walking around seeing different places. I really wish we'd had more time to explore here, but we did end up finding a coffee shop where it was definitely still busy, but we had to go up a few flights of stairs, so it was maybe a little less busy than it could have been. And while we were there, we actually signed up for their rewards club. So if you do make your way out here for some reason to Storyville Coffee, make sure that you sign up for their rewards program, because at least then they gave us 2 free mugs, and I also got my coffee free when we bought a bag of their coffee beans. So that is, just a really cool thing. I know that everyone goes to Starbucks, but try a different one and maybe you'll end up surprised. Here are the last few shots I'm going to show you guys. It's us sitting in the airport. Even the airport was beautiful, and it was such a good way to wrap up this trip. If you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed my little summary of our wonderful vacation, and I hope you have a chance to take the same trip soon.